Imagine you are a business owner and you want to market your product. You walk into the office of the leading newspaper and you give a half-page advertisement. The next day, you walk to the newspaper and say, can you tell us how many people saw my ad and how many people took action? What do you think would be the answer? Nothing. Do the same exercise in a radio station and repeat it again in a television station. You would get nothing back. The statistic that you would get are the inflated numbers of the viewership or listenership that happens. Digital is the only one where you can go to amazing nitty-gritty details. Not just the number of people who saw, number of people who clicked, what time did they come in, which page did they enter, what action did they take, and did it finally result in actual sales. So the session is really on return on investment, and for you to really derive the best return on investment in your digital properties, it's very important for you to track the right metrics. And because I'm the first panelist, I figured that this is a very good topic for us to all understand. We all know Simon Sinek, and he says that some of the most profitable and some of the most innovative companies around the world focuses on the power of why. And I think this is a very important question for us to really ask, that before you track any digital marketing or social media marketing activities, why in the world would you want to take your time and spend that effort? What is the objective? And what do you aim to get out of it? I think having that clarity is super important. Let me give you an example. So I run a digital marketing company back in India. We work with global clients. And this is one holiday company that focuses purely on tracking negative comments about the brand. They are not bothered about sales. They give two hoots about likes and comments. It's like, who is unhappy with our brand and can we nix it in the bud? So for that company, tracking negative comments is really on top of priority. We work with another brand, which is a very high-end coffee brand that recently launched. And for them, they really don't care about sales because they are so brand new in the market. For them, they want the world to know that the brand exists. They want the world to know that this is a coffee product that is far superior than what is available in the world. They are seeking awareness. And then I have another company, and they are only focused on numbers. It's sales at the end of the day. So for each company, their metrics, their objectives are different, and consequently, the metrics that they measure are very, very different. So what I did was, if you know the why part of it, you can always figure out what to do and how to do it. And how to do it are, I have 4 major categories for us to focus on. And these are the measurement categories. So the first one is really about awareness. How many people know about your product? And once people know about your product, and then they go in and you want to engage with them, you want to build a conversation, and engagement is probably the best form of letting the world know that it's a community that is being built. And once you have nurtured that community, that's engagement. Once you have nurtured it, you want to take them into the sales funnel. And once they like you, and if your product is top of their mind recall, they would hopefully end up in buying your product or taking up your service. And once they become your customer, and this is the final one, are they happy with you? Do they want to come back to you? And I think it's another powerful metric. So there are 4 categories. So what I've done is in each one of these 4 categories, I've taken top 3 metrics to share. What are the 3 top metrics to track? Let's look at the first category, and that is awareness. These are the three ones. The first one, how many times is your brand being mentioned? Just the sheer mention of people mentioning about your brand and letting the world know. For many of you in this audience out here, you wouldn't even know that there is this lady who exists on planet Earth called Miss Malini. But when she came up and gave that keynote address, it resonated a lot with her, and now you know who she is. And now that you know who she is, you're a little curious to know about what does she do. And then you learn about, hey, she runs a community for girls, a safe zone for them. And then you're curious, you want to go and check what that is. And that comes from really creating the brand awareness bit. And once you've built your brand awareness, the next one what you want to do is measure how are we growing on a week to week, on a month to month, quarter to quarter, and year to year. Because if you don't measure, you will never know if you're succeeding or not. Right? So, and the next one is share a voice, which is, hey, so you're doing good, but what if your competition is kicking ass? What if your competition is doing so much better than social media? So you're not only tracking you, but you're also tracking your 3 next biggest competitors and then comparing it with them, how are you doing? So I think it's a very, very important for us to do. The second important category to track is engagement, super critical. And the top 3, your likes and your double taps. The easiest, least effort that somebody can take to let them know that they like you, they like your idea, and they appreciate your idea, right? So measure the number of likes. Next, the comments. And I loved it in the conversation earlier. People spoke about not just interaction, but really the quality of interaction. And when you have comments and hopefully even discussions in your comment section where your community members engage, that is a super sign of a very healthy engagement rate. And finally is amplification, which is your shares. In terms of pecking order, if somebody shares your content, that is the highest form of appreciation, because that's when the butterfly effect kicks in. If somebody has 500 friends, and when they share your content, and look at how it can then amplify and go forward. The third important category is conversion. This is super critical. Ask any CEO, ask any head of sales, and they'll tell you that all other data, if it does not lead to a proper end result, is bullshit. You need action to be taken, and you can track action. And the top 3 facts that you need to track are, the first one is click-through rate. So you've made the post. It could be a blog post, it could be a Facebook update, it could be an Instagram post, but once you've given a link, either to download an ebook, it could be to buy a ticket, it could be to buy a product, no matter what it is, are people doing that? The one is click-through rate followed by click-through action. The second one is cost per click. Many of us know that having tens of thousands of fans or even millions of it really doesn't count much, because your organic engagement rate is in fractions. So they kind of squeeze your hand, your Facebooks, your LinkedIns, and the Instagrams of the world. They squeeze your hand and force you to spend money so that your content can reach a wider audience. And when you're spending money, you want to make sure that the clicks are going to the right target audience. So click-through rate is super important. And finally, does it finally end in actual sales? And does it come in and add to the kitty, your bottom line? And that's super important for us too. So that's the top 3. And the final category, which many of the companies actually miss measuring, and this is this, which is, are your clients, are your customers satisfied with your product? because it is a lot easier and makes better business sense to retain a customer and a client than to earn one. Apparently, it takes 8 times more effort for you to win a new customer than it is to retain an existing customer. And the top 3 metrics to measure your satisfaction. The first one is testimonial. Did your customers enjoy your product? Did they go on their own and mention how good they liked? Like right before this session, there was the tweet wall out there, and people absolutely loved the chocolates and the pastries that was out there. It was very creatively done. And I saw so many people were taking photos of and putting it up and mentioning this, right? So those are all actual testimonials that they really liked. The fact that many of them liked Malini's keynote is an absolute testimonial. These are things that people go out and do it. But in most cases, our customers will not go on their own limb, and they will not go in and share. They will not go in and talk good about you unless you plead, you request. The lady who's standing out here, her name is Naomi. She's got a gimbal and she's got a phone attached. I went and requested her saying that, hey, we're doing this session and we want to take short video clippings, and would you mind shooting it for me? Because if this doesn't happen, it didn't exist. Exactly 1 minute before this session, I walk up to Nick and I tell him that he has this fantastic Insta 360. It's a 360-degree camera. I said, can you fix it up? These are all excellent materials for us to have, and these are also in a way a testimonial that I am giving to the Malaysia Social Media Week, because when I take this content, when I edit it and put it up in the world, this is Kiruba Shankar, the speaker, talking about the brilliant experience I've had here, and I'm voluntarily going and sharing this out there. That is something that my events international can't pay money to do it, right? So these are things that you really need organic testimonials to come in. Second one is the customer satisfaction score, or the CSAT score. It's a linear 1 to 10 satisfaction ranking, fairly easy for you to do. In fact, many of us, you might even get an email asking about what did you like about this conference, what can be improved on. So that's a kind of a good one to do it, whether it's a talk, whether it's a product, whether it's a service, always good. And the last one, I think this is a super critical and a very, very effective one, is NPS, the Net Promoter Score. If you go to TripAdvisor and you went and dined out there, or you went to Zomato and you went and ate at a restaurant, you can typically give a rating. Uber, Grab, all of us, we can give rating. And what NPS does is, on a scale of 1 to 10, if anybody rates 1 to 6, they are considered detractors, meaning that they are unhappy with your service. They are least likely to talk about your brand, or even worse, they will talk bad about your brand. If somebody rates it 7 and 8, then they are passive. They don't hate it, they don't love you, they're kind of in the middle. But the last one are your supporters, and that's people who rank you as 9 and 10. So it's important for us to tap, and there's a formula equation for you to capture the NPS score. I would strongly urge you to go find what that formula is, a simple one, and apply it to your brand. So that's it. So there are 4 critical categories: awareness, engagement, conversion, and satisfaction. And as a way of saying thank you for all of you being here, so this is my 6th book that I'm launching in exactly 2 months' time. It's about social selling and how can we use social media and digital marketing as a way for us to get very targeted leads and very focused sales online. And I'm happy to give you a free copy to each one of you, and all you need to do is just send me an email saying you're interested. I won't spam you, you won't get anything else, just the book, as a way of saying thank you for being here. Thank you, guys.
Do you guys enjoy this session? I think it's really insightful, and coming up from Kiruba, I know him for many years now, and he come across as one of the most authentic business owner, as well as a practitioner of digital marketing, and not pretentious at all. So next, we're going to invite, let me see this, Roberto, the guy who has been interviewing everyone from CMO On Demand. Round of applause for him.
So Kiruba gets the fancy, like, hand, you have to hold it in your hands. And they give the half Italian, half Indian guy one thing in one hand, and I don't know how I'm going to be doing this talk, but I'll try my best, all right? So anyway, here I am. My name's Roberto Kumaraswamy, and I'm a CMO on demand. I'll get into what that means later. The thing is, I got stuck, when I got invited for Malaysia Social Media Week, I was delighted, I was really excited. And I asked them what are the kind of the topics, right? Social media, lots of fun stuff to talk about, etc. And then they go, oh yeah, well, we need someone for the ROI of social media. And I was like, oh God. What time are you putting it on? Oh, we're putting on the last session on the first day. And I'm like, oh my God. So yes, so here we are, we're going to be talking about the ROI of social media, which is not exactly the most exciting bit, but I'll do my best to kind of entertain you for the next 12 or 13 minutes or so. So, let's see if this works. Yes, okay. So the first thing that gets me is, why are we still talking about the ROI of social media? Like, seriously, like, does anyone really think that we can't figure out the ROI of social media? Why do I ask that? Because social media has been part of the marketing mix for what, the last 14 years, probably 15 years? I mean, Facebook went public in terms of it was available to the public back in 2005. I think I had my account in 2007. So we've been doing social media forever, right? Massive budgets are spent, they're getting bigger and bigger. So I have no idea why we're still talking about social media ROI, but we're here. And then I saw this post yesterday on Facebook, of course. So you can see what it says, right? Write in the comments the number 7 and see what happens to the spaghetti. Admit that it's insanely cool. Now, how many of you in this room would fall for this shit? Sorry, would fall for this gimmick? How many of you would? I'll be honest with you, when I saw it, I was like, this is the stupidest thing ever, but I still typed in 7, but I didn't press enter. Because I was like, no, I can't be one of those stupid, embarrassing people that my name is there, and like, I actually typed 7, right? Because we all know nothing's gonna happen. But shit, we can't fucking resist. What if something happens this time? And just look, this was posted on the 18th of April. 2.7 million comments, 336,000 reactions, and 54,000 shares. Okay, it's Donald Trump made out of spaghetti, and that is newsworthy. So let's be honest. But I mean, this just goes to show you that on social media, all sorts of stuff still happens, right? So I guess we can still talk about the ROI. So what do you think the ROI of these guys were? I think it was Frank earlier. Were you talking about the company in Macedonia? You were, right? The company in Macedonia who started creating this content on the election, on the US election. And why did they do that? Because they just knew that it would be super popular, and they just wanted to sell more ads on their blog or on their content, right? And this is probably what these guys are doing. This is an Israeli site. Oh no, I shouldn't say Israeli, we're in Malaysia, but anyway, it's an Israeli site. But yeah, so what's their ROI? They got a shitload of traffic coming to their Facebook page that I'm sure they're going to use in some creative way, probably retargeting and stuff. So they figured out the ROI for that strategy. But anyway, let's get into it. So can the ROI of social media be calculated? Measured? Of course it can. It really is not that complicated to do, provided you are clear in terms of what ROI means for you and for your campaign. And ROI isn't always the same thing all the time. It can differ for different things that you do. But probably one of the most important things to make sure that that you can measure ROI, is you need to set your campaigns up in a way that allow you to measure ROI, right? And before I get into that, this is just a little bit about me. So as I say, I'm a marketing guy. I've been in marketing for over 22 years. These are some of the companies that I've worked with. But because I haven't been getting much business as a CMO on demand in the last year or so I've just started putting up a lot of content on LinkedIn especially, and stuff like that, and just getting busy with a lot of content creation. Now, what's the ROI of all that effort of doing all that content on social media for zero money back? The ROI is the reach that I get. It's the awareness that people, when they do see my content, that they start to realize what I do, because a lot of it is on marketing-related topics, speaking topics, etc. And one way of looking at the ROI is, for example, getting invited to this conference, right? One of the posts that I did just 3 days before this conference is exactly what Kirba needed to do today, which was to get a crew to help him film this, right? And record it, right? Because that's what you do if you're in social media. And you did it for free just by coming here and finding 2 people with a gimbal. And I got really bad ROI because I wasted my 2 free tickets, VIP tickets to this event, by putting a post on social media, a little video on social media, and saying, hey, I'll trade these 2 tickets for 2 people who are willing to come and work with me at this conference. And I got my 2 guys here today. Big shout out to them. Where is, oh, there you are. You're supposed to be the back. Stop sitting down, go work. Anyway, so I wasted, that's bad ROI. But okay, let's get into it. So 6 simple steps. So this is going to be fairly practical and kind of like 6 steps in terms of what you need to do to make sure that you can measure ROI. And I'm also going to show you how I put into practice these 6 principles, well, most of them at least, when I did a project with a company called Lux Asia in Jakarta, Indonesia, back in mid-2016. Now, just for some context, Lux Asia is not selling luxury goods. It's not some fancy company. It's a company that's been in Indonesia for 30 years, selling door-to-door sales of vacuum cleaners and water filters. So as hardcore traditional as you can get. And if we could calculate ROI for them, you can certainly calculate it for your business. So, easy step number 1 is have clear objective of what your campaign is about, or what your social media post, forget if it's you're in a campaign, but what's that post about? What are you trying to do for it, right? What's the purpose of it? And it's amazing how many times people have no idea. It seems obvious, but we don't really think it through, right? So this is something from Hootsuite, a study that they did back in 2017. And you can see when you ask business people or business organizations, what are their objectives? Now, the easy one is always brand awareness, right? Everybody will just say, oh, brand awareness, because it's an easy one. Everybody's going to assume, oh, anyway, we can't really measure it. So yeah, brand awareness, right? But then you get into a whole host of other things that could be your objectives, right? Managing the brand reputation. And that's something you should be doing whether you want to or not, because the social media crisis is just a click away. Building and managing communities, of course, sales and conversions, gaining market insights, customer support, right? Social media is very often used for customer support nowadays. So all sorts of different possibilities. The important thing though is most of the time when it comes down to it, you really need to figure out where your objective is placed within the classic marketing sales funnel, right? You've all seen this. Just be very clear at which point your particular piece of content or your particular campaign is aiming for. It can't be doing everything at once. There's no way any campaign can be doing all of it at once. So you need to figure out at which point it is. I like using Oxwhite. How many of you have heard of a company called Oxwhite here? Okay, quite a few have. And I suspect the reason is because they've been doing a fantastic job over the last year or so on social media marketing. And they've done it to good success. I still don't have a free shirt for them despite me promoting them, bastards. But at some point they'll give me one. But seriously, they've done it very well, because remember how I said you need to be clear in terms of what your stages are? So every time, at least when they launch and when they're doing their advertising, they're very clear at which place their content is, right? So for example, they start off with awareness ads. And these awareness ads are just purely letting people know, not even about the company Oxwhite, but about the story behind it. Then they move into other ads that are very focused on interest. Once you've engaged with them by engaging on those awareness posts, they then give you other ads that are at a different level, where the objective is very clearly get you to visit their product pages. And then once you've participated in that, you then get into some hardcore sales ads. Come and buy now, it's going to run out of stock. So just a quick example to show you the different levels that your objectives can have. Okay, moving on to principle number 2, because I also realize I'm kind of running out of time. setting SMART goals. We all know what SMART is: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, timely. Yes, it's very important that you actually have some goals. Because if you don't have some goals, forget about calculating ROI, because return on what? What was your return? What were you aiming to do? And the importance here is to really have quite specific things. So for example, if you're doing something for business conversions, it could be to drive email signups, right? But it's how many email signups over what period of time? If you're doing something to just generate awareness, you can measure awareness by looking at your share of voice, your social share of voice. But how much do you want to increase it by when? So specific goals. The third point is, and probably this is the biggest takeaway from this whole talk that I'm giving, is set up your campaigns properly. Your campaigns, if you want to measure ROI, they need to have trackable actions. Actions that you can measure, that somebody who interacted with your campaign has taken. If you don't build those into the campaign, you're not going to be able to track anything, right? So, we all have own social media, paid social media, earned social media, right? You've got those different things. The kind of analytics that you can put in place to measure those are, of course, you have the analytics on the social platform itself, like Facebook Insights and so on. You've got your own digital analytics, right, which reside on your own platforms. Things like Google Analytics, Facebook Pixels, essential. And also, don't forget, a lot of the conversions will happen offline. So you need to work out a system in terms of how you're going to measure the online to offline conversions. And that's when your customer service team can come and play, your call center, your sales team, and getting the feedback from those guys. So set up the campaigns in the right way. The important thing though is, like what Frank also mentioned earlier, is most of the time the real ROI is going to happen on your sites, on your platform, on your website, on your web app, or with your sales team. You're not going to get the real hardcore conversions directly on the social platforms. Unlikely, unless you're an influencer, and then great, just keep on building up your community, and the more likes you get, the more brands will come and want to work with you. So, simple ideas, right? But these are just call to actions. Have them. There's no reason not to have a call to action in any post that you do, right? Especially if you're a business. So the typical learn more buttons that lead to a website. Oxwhite does it very well. It then leads to a very specific related action. And even referrals. So how we talked about earned social media, right? Where you can get people to share on your behalf. Referral strategy is great, but make sure that's trackable. Put in the system in place. And it's not hard. There are tools to do that very easily. So okay, moving forward. Track performance metrics. Of course, right? Goes without saying. You need to be measuring stuff. But again, only after you put in the system that enables you to get those metrics. I'm not going to go into the range of different metrics because there are a whole bunch. The important thing here is don't try and measure every single metric for every campaign. It's a complete waste of time. Just focus on 2 or 3 key ones. How do you decide? Ask yourself these questions. Does it align with your objectives? Back to step number 1. Does it help you to make decisions? Are you going to be able to use the metrics to actually make some relevant decisions on what to do more of, less of, etc.? Do you have the capacity to measure it easily? Can you act on those metrics? No point measuring something and then you go, yeah, but we can't change that anyway, so no point. And don't use too many. Number 5, use the right tools. There is no reason why you're not able to use tools nowadays. There are so many of them, and this is part of the problem though, right? The tools are available, a lot of them are free, trial, etc., but because there are so many, we give up. And it's just too many to assess, what to use, we don't want to make the wrong decision, etc., and that's a problem, yes. But as a starting point, all you really need, at least from a digital perspective, is Google Analytics on your properties, right, your websites, etc. It's having the Facebook pixel on there to tie the two, Google with Facebook, right, and Facebook covers Instagram, etc. And using, the proper codes in there, so using UTM codes. So make sure that you have those in place. Finally, of course, to calculate ROI is know how much you're spending. This sounds stupid, but a lot of the times, people have no idea how much they're spending beyond the direct ad spend, right? Assuming it's a paid campaign. So what are the things that build up your costs? It's things like, of course, the ad spend, if you're promoting your posts, Content creation takes time to create that content. There may be associated production costs. The social media tools, if you're running contests, incentives, and prizes, and people, time, and costs, right? So keep track of that, measure it out. Once you have all that, this is just a simple, if you're going to do a hardcore sales conversion kind of thing, this is just a simple way of calculating it, right? Accurate ROI, look at your total revenue, subtract your COG of whatever you're selling, right? Subtract the marketing investment, divide it by the marketing investment, express that as a percentage, that's ROI, right? At a simplistic level and at a sales level. But as I said, there can be a lot of different types of ROI. So I'm just going to take one more minute and just quickly show you all of that in how we did it at Luxasia. At Luxasia, it was basically a campaign to get sales, to recruit salespeople. It was a door-to-door sales company, so we needed to recruit salespeople. So we used social media to recruit those salespeople, because in the past they'd always been using newspapers, which was very fragmented in Indonesia. So we did that, we set up the objectives. It was to obviously meet our sales recruitment targets, be able to track the applications properly, ensure the consistent ongoing advertising, and reduce sales rep recruitment costs, which were very high due to newspaper usage. What do? We put into action principle number 2. We set specific, actionable, relevant, timely goals, right? So we knew how many people we wanted to attract, so we set a target of 4,000 per month, and we broke it down through the funnel, right? How many we would schedule, how many would attend the interview, and so on. We finally went into setting up the social campaigns properly with specific call to actions that led to a specific page, right? That was trackable, had all the various codes in place, and so on. We tracked the performance metrics, and this looks like a horrendous chart, and there's a reason for it, because it was quite complicated, because it wasn't just what we got online. The people would call, we'd get their number, the contact team, the call center team had to call them, and they'd have to go for the interview. So there were 3 different points: digital, the call center, and the sales reps in the various sales office. Collected all that data. This was a weekly report that had to go put out, and you then are able to track the various performance metrics and measure your performance, and finally be able to calculate the ROI. And in our case, the ROI wasn't how much we'd sold, obviously, but it was the big saving that we'd been able to make by using digital versus traditional, right? So it was a massive saving on the cost per applicant. And that was a simple way of calculating ROI. But it can totally be done even in a very complex organization with online to offline. So, in summary, yes, I hope I've convinced you that ROI can certainly be calculated in today's social media. It's just a question of whether you're doing it right. And if you want to do it right, start by following those 6 steps. Thank you, and sorry for running over time. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. I like the whole trackability and the whole case study, so I will leave the questions for later. I might need to get permission from the audience that we might overrun by 10 to 15 minutes. Is that all right? Great. I think sharing of knowledge is priceless, and the whole concept of this conference is to share knowledge and values. So I will have the next speaker.
How's everyone doing? Good? So on top of being the last panel, I'm actually the last person for today, so it puts a lot of pressure to me, because I think a lot of the points which I'm covering today has already been covered by the 2 speakers. So I'll start with introducing you to someone who is really, really close to me. So every morning, this is the first person that I see, the last person that I see and talk to before I sleep, and it's the person which, if this person is not there, I get completely shaky and nervous. So this is Sarah, and this is the closest person to me that you can ever think of. It's the first person I talk to, it's the last person that I speak to before I go to bed, and it's the person which, if I have a problem, I talk to. If I have something which is interesting, I'll share with Sarah. And with any relationship, I think what is important for it is actually for us to get the most out of it. So what do I want from Sarah? So I want specific returns to my investment, so my time which I put into Sarah, the amount of money that I put into Sarah. So today we're going to be talking about the returns that I want Sarah to bring. Oh, my Instagram is missing. Because I can't take my own picture, so if you guys take any picture, please tag me. I'll skip all of that. So this is the reality which is today. So we go out with our friends, we would be taking pictures instead of actually talking to our friends. And I was at a talk once, and they were talking about how 10 years ago, when you go to a party, you really enjoy the party. But nowadays, it's not about how you enjoy the party. You go to a party, you'll be tweeting your friends, hey, this party is amazing. You won't be enjoying yourself, but you'll be telling the world how enjoyable it is. So this is the reality which we're facing right now. Typical scene at a food eating place. So you'll be taking pictures, you'll be busy taking pictures, sending to your friends, and etc. So I found this cartoon online, which I thought was very, very interesting. So a lot of people think that you can't actually track social media ROI. So what do you want? Shares? What does share brings you? Nothing. So I think for a lot of business, the most important thing is actually money. So for me, for my company, I think the most important thing is money. I don't care how many shares you get. I don't care how many likes a post get. But what is important for me at the end of the day is that it brings revenue. And that's the only thing which matters to me. But when it comes to other businesses, they might have different goal, different objective. So you might not want immediate return, but you might want other things. And the power of social media right now is, as the two speakers mentioned earlier, there's a lot of benefits for awareness, for value, for success, for sales, for partnership, and many other benefits that you can get. And social media basically has come a long way. So in the past, the return there is no clear measurable way. So you just post pictures, you just post stuff, and you hope that you get more sales. And a lot of the people still rely on this method. So you have stalls or food places which just keep on posting because they hope that people would actually come to their store. And it does help. Some of the burger store, for example, you see they have thousands of followers, and their store become very, very profitable. People come to their store, people buy. So that is their specific ROI which they are looking for more people to know about their place, and then for people to come and enjoy the food. But we've come a long way, and things are getting a little bit more exciting. So you have coupon code. So coupon code allows you to actually track specific conversion. And we're talking about offline as well as online. So when it comes to offline, for example, you want to do campaigns like newspaper, right? But it's very hard for you to track. I want to do newspaper because I think a lot of people will be reading newspapers. How do you track that? So you can use coupon code, redemption coupon code. You segregate your whole campaign into specific coupon code. So you know, so coupon code, this specific coupon code comes from newspaper A. This specific coupon code comes from newspaper B or other channel. But what is interesting is the online component of it. So with online, you're able to actually track, I think the first speaker mentioned earlier, you're able to track everything. Which page, how much, which demographic, and this makes it a little bit more interesting because you can actually optimize. So I know for a fact, for example, if I want to sell this specific product, who do I target? Do I target male, female, urban, non-urban? So it does matter. So once you understand your whole demographic of your users, you'll be able to actually convert them a lot better and more efficiently. So what is the ROI? So most of the, so we'll go through in the next few slides the typical ROI for a lot of companies and how the 4 methods or the 4 steps that you'll go through to actually identify your ROI. So some of the old method is basically the number of fans, the number of followers. So hey, look, I have 10,000 followers, I have 5,000 followers, I have this amount of likes. But for specific brands, or for specific companies, it doesn't bring any value to them if they're looking for money as return. So some of the new method would be more like engagement, the number of people who actually shares, or specific targeted goals. The previous speaker mentioned in more detailed the return, so I'll just skip that one. So, do you think it's easy? Yes, right? So some of the campaigns or some of the metrics that we look at as a company would be typically like likes, the number of retweets, the number of followers, some of the comments, reviews, and etc. And these help you to, this specific metric help you understand the engagement with your followers, the return, what do they want, for example, and then etc. So how do you do it? So first of all, I think all the speakers mentioned this already. So you choose your goal, you track your goal, but most importantly I want to put here is that you have to assign a monetary value to your goal. Because in the end, as a business, if you have 1 million followers but they don't convert to money, it has no use. And then how do you measure your result? And the reason why you want to measure that is because you want to analyze it and you want to improve it. You want to make it better. You want to, instead of actually spending 1,000 to get this specific return, you want to spend 500 and get the same amount of return or double the return. So the first step is actually to choose your goal. And in order for you to choose your goal, you have to actually understand your sales funnel. So how do the sales come in? Is it via your website? Which specific page? You have to understand all that part. The whole travel journey or booking journey in order for you to be able to actually set your goal. So this is Buffer. So Buffer is a tool or it's a social media sharing platform, and they've published sort of like an ROI matrix to identify what are the things that you should look at when you post a social media posting, and how do you understand the whole business goal and sales funnel. And this is a typical thing when you look at when you post something. So you either want to have people, specifically as an ROI, so you want to have people register for your webinar, you want to have people watch your videos. If you're a celebrity, if you're an artist, you want people to watch your video. Or you want to make a purchase, you want people to make a purchase, you want people to click on a link to download, let's say, an ebook. Or people to sign up for newsletter so that you can actually target them later. Or people who download white paper. And there are a lot of companies, I can't remember this, there was one social company who, they do a lot of white papers. And as a result of the white paper, people keep sharing it. So people share the white paper, and as a result, they get more and more users and more people paying to use their service. Number 2 is actually to track your goals. And I think Facebook, Instagram, they're doing a really good job of enabling you to actually track your goal. So if your goal is actually, for example, in this typical dashboard matrix, if you're really concerned about points that you want to actually track, you'll track everything from where are the users, which specific product appeal to which demographic, and etc. And it's very important for you to track that because that would enable you to actually reduce your cost per acquisition. So again, Facebook is doing a really good job. It has this whole dashboard where you can actually analyze and identify and segregate, create multiple campaigns, and etc. So step 3 will be to assign a monetary value. The first full funnel conversion calculation is easy, so you know from beginning to the end, that is easy. But what would be interesting is actually if you have specific campaign and it has a combination of offline as well as online. So how do you track that? Now I know, I'm sure most of you have seen the Trivago ad on TV, right? And it goes on and on and on. But the question that you should ask yourself is how do they track? Because in the end, TV you can't track, right? You can't tell which of these people come. So the way they do it is actually they create a baseline correlation. So this is the normal average of where we are right now, and then you launch specific campaign and you see the difference. And the assumption is that this difference is contributed by the specific campaign. And that's how they track. That's how they track the TV return. So they know, for example, for a fact that this specific ad will go at this specific time, and then you see the spike. And do you see the correlation between the spike and the booking? So if there is a huge amount of booking that is a result from the ad, then you'll know that this actually comes from the ad. I think it's very important to also do channel segmentation. So you know, for fact, for us, for example, we know that different products appeal to different social channel distribution or marketing. So specific products, so we do sell Umrah, for example, and it works very well on Facebook. While other product works very well on Instagram because of the demographic of the people and the type of people that uses specific social media. And I think it's very important for you to actually have to understand that. So you have to understand your user, you have to understand the funnel, how they book, who is booking, in order for you to actually come up with a whole chart and then optimize that chart. Typical, how do you say, like results by channel. So you separate into channel. You want to know the cost per acquisition for each and every single channel. And then if you have a lot more, let's say, time or more people or more stuff, you can actually segregate that even more into, let's say, ads that we target Kelantan people has this cost and they will book this amount and they will book this package. Then you can actually optimize that even better when you do the next round of campaign. And then lastly, you analyze and improve. And this is very important because as a company you want to keep on growing, but you want to reduce your costs. Keep on reducing your costs. So the main focus is actually to engage, expose, to lead, and to create sales. And for me, most importantly in this, out of all of this, is actually sales. So here's a few sample, 2 minutes left. So there was a Mata Fair in March. So we wanted a lot of people, it was our first time joining, we wanted a lot of people to actually realize some of the campaign, some of the packages that we have. So we introduced some specific packages, and our goal is actually to increase the lead, to introduce the brand, as well as to let the people recommend our product to their families, basically shares. So at the end of the, I think 3 weeks campaign, we have about 1.2 thousand shares, 1.2 thousand comments, and it's minimal spending. So what do we track? So we tracked the number of people who actually click send message, because the send message is a call to action which showed to us the number of people who are interested in the product. We had tracked the number of people who contacted our agent. Because it's a combination of offline and online, there is a specific, mix of how to track. The thing with travel is that the basket size is so big, you can't really pay by credit card. So that's the biggest challenge when it comes to travel products. So what we do is actually, it's a combination of both online as well as offline. So online leads come, and then offline fulfillment. So the number of engagement includes the click, the like, the shares, the comments. What are the people commenting? How many tags? The number of reach, number of impression, number of visitors who come actually to our booth at Mata Fair, and that actually is a result from the online campaign. And then most importantly is basically the sales, before, during, as well as after Mata Fair. So what is the result? The result is very interesting. So we generated about 7-figure revenue, thousands of leads, which we can then retarget. We can do multiple campaigns, multiple EDM campaigns. We managed to reach millions of social media users, and our engagement cost is only about 0.3 cents. And most of the social media user will actually share and tag their family and friends. And I think that's very important. The previous speaker mentioned, in order for you to measure the success of specific posts, you want to see the shares. And for me, when I see specific brand, I do exactly the same. I look at the number of shares, and I look at the negative comment. And that's the only two things which I'm really interested in. When I want to book a hotel, for example, that's the two things which I look at. The negative comment, what are people saying? The positive stuff, yeah, it's a nice room, blah, blah, blah. But what is negative? Oh, the bed is shit, right? The bed is crap, the toilet is crap. So then I don't book that specific hotel. So I look at the negative comment because it enables me to understand my product more. What do people hate about it? So we love this kind of post. So this kind of post enables people to actually share, they tag their friends, and etc. And it's very interesting because for me, there is a specific number of likes, and if you reach this number of likes, more than that, people will just keep liking. They don't really look at it that much. They keep on sharing and they keep on liking, and you just have to reach this specific threshold. And it's the same with across all social media, be it Facebook, Twitter, as well as Instagram. Once you reach a threshold of like for a specific post, everyone will just like, and everyone will just comment. If it's just tagging your friend, or if it's just thumbs up, or etc. So our main focus was actually leads and sales. And the main challenge for the Malaysian market, or basically the travel market itself, is that people love WhatsApp. how do you track WhatsApp? You can't track WhatsApp, right? I don't know how many people book from WhatsApp. So what we did was we used a bit.ly link, but at the same time we integrate into a CRM system. So we'll be able to actually understand, let's say Agent A, this is his conversion rate. Agent B, this is his conversion rate. Agent C, this is his conversion rate. How many leads can he convert? We can then use that as a threshold when we hire new people and as a benchmark. So look, I want to send you 100 leads and I want to have 10 conversion. And this is the value that I want in terms of sales from you. Again, our target was basically to introduce Umrah packages to audience above 40 years old, hence why we chose Facebook, to build trust, create leads. And video does an amazing job. Video for us, it helps increase the conversion, but at the same time it helps build the trust. So people trust more when they see, oh, this is a very interesting video. And then increase the lead and sales. Again, how many people click to contact us, how many people engage, and etc. It's the same number of, the return of investment which we're tracking. So better leads, quality, and better would lead to better sales, better engagement, so you reach more than 40,000 people, and which landed on our WhatsApp link. So I think nowadays it's very important for us when we do social media campaign, we are value driven, we are return driven. So it's not just about posting, it's about getting the money back. So if I spend 1,000, I want 10,000 back. If I spend 10,000, I want 100,000 back. And how do I optimize that to get the maximum return out of it? So there's many tools out there you can use to basically measure every single component of your social media posting. I love this quote because it tells you, it has a lot of meaning. So we don't have a choice on whether we do social media, but the bigger question is how well we do it. Because everyone is on social media. Whatever brand that you can think of is on social media. But the question is not whether you should be on, you should not be on. It's whether or not, how well you do it. So you want to have the best return of investment compared to your competitors. So I just end with a quote which I basically did. So social media campaigns are not only an art, but science. So you can't listen with your ears, but actually with data. So you want to use data to actually understand the demographic of your user and how to actually better convert them into sales. And ROI is the key for each campaign. Thank you.
Right. Okay, I'm going to start off by having some questions. I think this session has been pretty insightful because all three speakers cover content or information that somewhat crosses one another, but they all have specific points. Like what I gather, I'm not sure about you guys, but from Kiroba, I learned a little bit on the concept of his tracking and his measurable is all about the social proof, the testimonial and stuff. On Roboto is on the formula, the conversion, and how you build the brand awareness, which is very important because, like we mentioned, Hootsuite also mentioned this whole thing. And fees, sales, get that. I think I counted about 6 sales in the speech. Good job. That explains why you're 30 under 30, 40 under 40, right? Now, I'm not going to ask you guys anything technical. You guys are expert, I'm not. And I'm going to ask you guys some simple questions. While you guys are on the ground, please prepare and fire some questions, okay? So first question I'm going to ask 3 of you, either one can answer, is building brand awareness versus ROI on social media. Which one?
Absolutely, clearly, without any iota of doubt, it is return on investment. It's only when you start seeing the results, it'll motivate you to open up to spend even more investment into social media, or if you have a client, they'll open up their purses for more investments.
I just don't think it's that black and white. I really think it depends who you are, what you're trying to do on social media. Are you building a business? Are you running Are you running a company? Are you an influencer trying to get noticed? So, you know, ROI has many ways of being defined. It's not just about dollars and cents. So I think it just depends at what stage you're on and what you're trying to do. So always ask yourself what your objective is. Then you can define, maybe awareness is the key thing you need. You need a certain number of people to be aware that you even exist, so that from then you can start doing more complicated or more action-driven, specific actions that you want taken. But I don't think it's 100% black and white for me.
Please?
I would echo what he said. So basically it depends on the type of business that you're doing, the type of ROI that you're looking at. So let's say you're an influencer, you want to have a lot more brand realize that you exist, for example. Or for me, I just divided personally. For me, when I want to do fundraising, it's important that the investor know who I am. So what I do is actually I post on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a very useful tool, and I keep on posting. So even though they don't like it, I have little likes on LinkedIn, but I know they all see it. So whenever I see specific, I do tests, you know, I post random stuff which I did not even do, nor was I ever there. So let's say I post a picture of a photo shoot. Oh, amazing photo shoot in New York. So I meet specific investors. They never liked my page. They'll be, oh, beautiful. I saw you were in New York. So it's proof for me that actually they are looking at it. And for everyone, I think it's very important for you to actually basically have a social media presence, but at the same time identify what you want from it. So do you want more people to know you exist, or do you want more return in terms of investment, money?
I agree to your points, to all your points actually, and I agree that, you know, it depends on what stage of business is in. The reason why I asked this question is when I Googled social media return on investment, I see everything matrix, numbers, facts. Until I came across this article by Forbes that asks the fellow social media, digital marketing companies alike, 44% of businesses actually did not build their brand using social media. What they care about is making money, right? So there's nothing wrong, because, you know, the crunch come, end of the day, you need to eat, the company need to run. But here comes another question. So assuming you have seen some success, all right? So you are an SME, you are a non-profit organization, right? You are a business that's already thriving, right? But as you thrive, your cost and the overhead increases. So my next question is, social versus ROI, which one? Social meaning doing good business. Social meaning social proofing. Because this whole day we hear a lot about positive news, you know, stories to make people think. So what do you guys think? Because you guys have some varying perspective, right?
I don't quite understand the question. Why are they at conflict though? Why is social proof doing kind of feel good? It shouldn't even be feel good, but you use that as an example. But why is social conflicting with ROI? Because you can get ROI from social. I mean, we just covered that. I don't quite, sorry.
That's a good point.
Quite understand the question.
So your point is, you could have social stories to get ROI, right? That's your perspective.
Absolutely, yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
What about Kiruba? I'll come to that.
In most cases, return on investment is better sales. More income coming in most cases. Many of the feel-good stories, Faiz going to New York and people getting to know about him, and those are little nuggets that keep adding on to the end result of TripFest doing fairly well, right? So we have to do many of these little things for us to really to result, but the bottom line clearly is for you to continue to keep falling in love with social, for you to continue to keep investing real dollars into the campaign. The only way is by seeing your business do really well because of social media.
Sorry, just to add on to that, but you see you don't need to take each post in isolation. You can plan them out as a sequence. When people have never heard about you or your business, or they don't know who you are, they don't want to be sold to. They don't want to see you the first time going, hey, buy this from me. Because it's like, no, I don't want to buy, no matter what you're selling, and I don't know who you are, so no. So a much better way to get noticed is get noticed for something that is completely non-threatening, but is of interest to them, is of relevance to your target audience. And which is why I come back to the way, I really like the way Oxwhite did it. Their initial phase 1 campaign to somebody who's never visited their site, right, which they know through the Facebook pixel and so on, is paying for ads that are actually driving traffic to an article in the Star newspaper or in somebody else's blog, which talks about how Oxwhite is a successful business from an entrepreneurial point of view. Nothing to do with selling shirts, right? But the beauty of that is, who's going to be interested in an entrepreneurial story? Young guys who want to start their own business who need a white shirt. So it's that flow down. But that first campaign, if they measured it based on how many shirts did we sell after we posted that, like 0. Right? But they had a sequence to it, and so I don't think you should take it all as a as a general flow through the funnel. Yeah.
I think both is important because echoing what both are saying. Let's say if someone tells you something, right? Oh, please buy this bottle of water. You're not going to buy it because it's like too pushing it to you. So it's the same when I raise, so my job, I have to keep on raising capital to burn it for my company. So how I do it is actually, if I randomly email, let's say, an investor, they're not going to apply to me. Oh, they get thousands of email every single day. So what I do is actually, I keep on posting awesome stuff. Hey, I'm here. Faiz has partnership with Hong Kong. Faiz has featured here, Faiz does that, until one day, and I push it to them, right? They'll see it, they'll watch it, they'll see, and then they'll be interested to actually, hey, let's contact Faiz. So when they contact me, it's different from me contacting them. So in this case, my ROI, or what I want from my personal posting, is actually for them to actually contact me and have more leads of investors contacting me. So when I keep on posting social stuff, that's my return. So I guess it depends on, both is important, but at the same time, it depends on what your ROI is. If you're at a stage which you just started, right? You can have a bit of both. You also want to introduce to people your brand, be it yourself, be it your product, you want to introduce to the people. So it's important for you to keep on posting social stuff, but at the same time, you can have a separate campaign targeting return. Because as a business, it all comes down to return. If you don't make money, if you have 10 million likes, but then doesn't generate or doesn't convert, it's also useless. So you need a bit of both.
I like this. I agree with actually most of you, and in fact all of you. It's because I do meet a lot of people who are confused, right? When they talk about ROI, they think about sales. When they think about sales, they think about mechanism or matrix, right? They've forgotten about the brand awareness. Although the speech and the stories that you guys are sharing differs from one another, but you guys have the same concept, right? And I hope you guys get that, For B2B, there's a constant awareness in terms of sharing on his journey, right? From a B2C perspective, they share from the B2B kind of concept, right? Your business is growing and stuff like that. And Kiruba mentioning about sharing the negative comments, or rather, how do you, come back to turn around the story and business. And honestly, I think this is really quite important, and building this whole concept of sustainable ROI. And the reason why I asked this question is because, like correctly you just put across, is that nobody likes to be sold. I remember a friend was sharing with me, he's a top insurance agent, right? So he was telling me, I asked him over wine, why, how do you become the top sales? There are tens of thousands of agents, right? He told me one thing: you don't sell. Yeah. You don't sell, which is exactly what you guys just said, right? So when I ask you guys this question, I know it's kind of like an open-ended, controversial question, but it actually makes audience think as well as myself and you guys, right? And you guys share some knowledge. I just wanted to really get that concept. And how about assuming after you've done many rounds of these things, and you come to a break-even point, all businesses, there's a certain break-even point, right? And what do you do? Do you go into the more, philanthropy, the story kind? When does that, the brand building side that goes towards the social angle comes for business in social media? Just wondering, like, from your perspective. I know there's no hard and fast rule, there's no matrix on this.
Sorry.
Okay, so let me repeat the question. Yeah, so when does a company, at which stage does a company actually start to invest on social media instead of ROI? That means brand building purely. Social angle.
Like Seth Godin, the marketing guy, he talks about when is the right time to market a book. He's authored like about a dozen New York Times best-selling book. So somebody asked him, when is the right time to start marketing a book? You know what he answered? He said, 6 months before he starts writing his book. So the answer to your question, Nick, I think as businesses, it is important for us to not wait for a tipping point for us to go and start marketing. I think social media is all about going out there and letting people engage in different stages of your company's growth. That would be my answer.
Yeah, Nick, I still don't understand why you're trying to make social media an ROI. Like, social media is there, ROI is there. You can't do it's. If you do it with a plan, if you do it with an aim in mind, you've got your objectives, you understand why you're doing it, you've got the different funnels, etc. It's part of the marketing mix, and you can't run away from it, right? It's crucial. If you're not on social media today, you're just in denial because everybody else is, and lots of people are going to talk about your brand, good or bad. So, to me, there's no contradiction, there's no conflict. It's do it well, start getting value out of it, and it should be money well spent if you're doing it well, and not just, let's just put up some posts for fun.
Any questions on the ground, on the audience? Like, do you have any questions that you want to ask them? Agree, disagree? Lady over there, and the gentleman in the middle.
Hi, I'm Carmen from MediaClick.
Hello.
Hi,
How are you?
I'm good. This question's for Rob and Faiz. You guys mentioned that there are a lot of really good tools out there to measure ROI for social media. Can you guys recommend some tools that you guys use, or any tools that are the best ones out there?
Best tools? I think Facebook and Instagram is the best tool because it's a native platform. You're using Facebook to promote, right? So they track everything. You can divide it into multiple campaigns. You can then track the cost per click. You can then, if you use Google, for example, if you use Google Analytics, you can put the pixel, and then you can actually track all the funnel all the way to the end of your booking, so you know exactly the cost per acquisition of customers.
So no, like third-party tools?
Pardon?
Any third-party tools that you recommend?
Third party, it depends on your objective. So what do you want to track? So you're tracking, let's say, number of likes. It depends on what you specifically want to track. So if for me, the Google Analytics and the typical Google Analytics, AdWords, Facebook is the best because it enables you to do all of that. And you can put the pixel, you can view the whole journey right from the beginning up to the end. And you can create the whole sales funnel, which page they drop, identify which page they drop, why, and then you can add, for example, like Crazy Egg, identify where on the page that they are clicking, but there's no button there, for example. So once you add a combination of both, it's the best simplistic tool to start with.
I agree. Actually, Instagram, Facebook, Google Ads, they provide unbelievably deep insights into your pattern. But if your specific question is what third-party tool that combines all of this together, if you want to go on the cheap, socialmention.com is a good one for you to get into. If you're rich, then go for Radiant 6. I consider this as the fire engine to put out your cigarette smoke, but it's amazingly very, very, very powerful. So these two would be the third-party tools.
All right, so I'll thank you, the panel, for the discussion, but the time is running out, so if you guys have any questions, please approach them directly at the backstage.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nick.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, there we go, Nick, and we